Picture a lake in the heart of Europe. It sits at the point where Germany, Austria and Switzerland converge, 63 kilometres long, 252 metres deep, and holding more fresh water by volume than almost any other lake on the continent. And here's something that many people don't know. Despite being surrounded by three highly organised, law-obsessed European nations, nobody legally owns it. Germany, Austria and Switzerland have fundamentally different positions on where their borders lie within the water. Austria argues the lake belongs to the shoreline states. Switzerland says it should be split down the middle. Germany is ambiguous about both. No legally binding agreement has ever been reached. The lake is, technically, in a state of permanent diplomatic limbo. This is Lake Constance, Bodensee, a place for business leaders, founders and freelancers to build, grow and to actively recover. The story of this lake is the story of humans figuring out how to build something extraordinary in an improbable place. 4,000 years ago, Neolithic communities were already doing exactly that. The prehistoric pile dwellings scattered around the shoreline, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, were stilt communities built directly over the water. The engineering was remarkable for its era, but more interesting is the instinct to build at the edge, where the conditions are unusual, where normal rules don't quite apply. Fast forward to 1838. A boy is born in Constance on the lake's southern shore. His name is Ferdinand von Zeppelin. By the early 1900s, he's built the world's first rigid airship. The Zeppelin became one of the most iconic symbols of human ambition in the 20th century. But to manufacture the technology, Count Zeppelin needed precision gears. So, in 1915, he founded a gear factory in Friedrichshafen. He called it Zahnradfabrik Friedrichshafen. Today, we know it as ZF. It reported 41 billion euros in revenue last year. It employs over 160,000 people across 162 production locations in 29 countries. Its components are in the car you drive, the truck that delivered your last order, and the transmission systems of military vehicles in dozens of nations. And ZF is just the beginning. Rolls-Royce Power Systems is headquartered in Friedrichshafen. They are the world's leading manufacturer of high-speed engines for warships, submarines, railway systems and power plants. Airbus Defence and Space operates its most advanced satellite integration facility just along the lake at Immenstadt. Diehl Defence is in Überlingen. Liebherr, the crane and aerospace giant, is in Lindau. Dozens of what Germans call Mittelstand companies, hidden world market leaders in their niches, are clustered throughout the region. The Bodensee district is consistently ranked among the highest GDP per worker areas in Germany. Not Munich, not Frankfurt, this lake. What's striking is that almost none of it came from external investment, government policy or planned development. It grew organically, from one man's decision to build airships here in 1900. That's what compound innovation looks like across a century. Ideas attract ideas. Engineering attracts engineers. And somehow, on the shore of a quiet alpine lake that nobody legally owns, one of the most powerful industrial ecosystems in the world quietly took shape. But here's what makes this region genuinely interesting for business leaders. The same culture that built some of Europe's most productive companies also built something rarer, a deliberate philosophy of switching off. Germans have a concept called Feierabend. It translates roughly as the end of the working day, but it's much more than a time on a clock, a cultural norm. When the day's work is done, you fully disengage. You go outside, you take the bike, you swim in the lake. In the Bodensee region, this isn't a lifestyle preference, it's embedded in the geography. The 261-kilometre cycle path that circles the entire lake is one of the most used leisure routes in Germany. The lake water is clean enough to swim in almost anywhere along the shore. The Argen River, where it meets the lake near Langenargen, runs through one of Baden-Württemberg's most biodiverse nature reserves. Research consistently shows that physical recovery in natural environments, cold air, open water, real space, restores cognitive function in ways that rest indoors simply doesn't. The engineers and executives who live and work here have that baked into their weekly rhythm. It's not a perk the company offers, it's the air the region breathes. The highest performing place in Germany is also, by design, one of the most restorative. The land itself tells the same story. Around Bodensee, roughly 1,600 farms produce 1 in every 3 apples sold across Germany. The vineyards here are Germany's highest, Pinot Noir and Müller-Thurgau, grown at 400 to 650 metres above sea level, in quantities small enough that most of it never leaves the region. The fish, Felchen, a freshwater whitefish unique to these alpine lakes, is caught here and on the table the same day. The food culture is specific, seasonal, and tied to what this land actually produces. In a world that has almost entirely separated work from land from what we eat, Bodensee never quite made that break. Which brings us to the practical, hard-headed case for being here. We often talk about the Bodensee as a scenic escape, but for the strategic mind, it is 4 national economies functioning as one. Within this greater lake economic zone, you have Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and the Principality of Liechtenstein. This isn't just a geographic quirk, it is a regulatory playground. It means you can leverage Swiss fiscal precision and private wealth structures while utilising Germany's world-class engineering infrastructure. You can tap into Austrian manufacturing agility and Liechtenstein's highly specialised financial niche, all within a single afternoon's drive. These borders are, as we've established, somewhat theoretical for people, yet they remain distinct enough to offer a unique pick-and-mix approach to business structuring. The intellectual backbone of this region is equally formidable. There are 25 universities and research institutions networked across Bodensee. This creates a talent density that rivals Europe's major capitals, but without the suffocating overhead or the talent wars of Berlin or London. You aren't just hiring employees here, you are tapping into a cross-border brain trust that has been quietly fueling hidden champions for decades. Logistically, the region is far more connected than its serene out-of-office reputation suggests. Friedrichshafen International Airport provides a direct gateway to major European hubs like Frankfurt, ensuring you can be in a global boardroom by lunch and back on the lake by sunset. There is a massive gap between the region's global profile and its actual economic power. For the business leader, the entrepreneur, or the freelancer, that gap is where the opportunity lives. It's the chance to operate at a global standard while living in a location that feels like a well-kept secret. For a certain kind of visionary, that isn't just a benefit, that is exactly the point.